That's a great idea for the next video, actually. Hi, I'm Marta and this is NotEnoughTECH, and in a previous video I talked about all the things you should know about using IKEA. And by IKEA I don't mean a massive IKEA shelf that I'm not really looking forward to dismantling. I mean the IKEA lamps. I have two bulbs in here which are currently linked to the IKEA Trådfri remote. And we're gonna talk about a couple of things they don't actually tell you about these things, the controllers. Well, first of all, a tiny correction. I've mentioned in my previous video by mistake that the controller without the gateway can be linked to a single bulb. It's not true, it can be linked up to 10 different devices. So I do apologize for that. If you have a hub, obviously you don't have that limit, but if you have no hub, you can link it up to 10 different devices. But I'm here to talk about the limitation that comes with having IKEA Trådfri, even with the hub. So if you have this and you're not aware of it, this is the video for you. If you are happy, they're not going to be a massive revelation, so if you're happy with how the IKEA works for you, that's great. I'm not going to even dispute that. I'm quite pleased for you. However, there are certain limitations if you want to use IKEA devices like you would do with Xiaomi MiHome. And I'm gonna use the Xiaomi MiHome to compare it to, because it's a similar price point and you can get relatively similar devices. And as of December last year, both Xiaomi and IKEA work together, which means you can now use your Xiaomi controllers, Xiaomi gateway, to control IKEA light bulbs. Behind me you can see two different lamps, 1 and 2, and those are connected via IKEA Trådfri hub with buttons, all paired, set as a single room. Now I can obviously toggle them on and off, but what I can't do is assign any device. So I've got a motion sensor in here, and there are two ways of assigning a motion sensor to a device or any controller to a device. And you can either pair it by holding a button for 10 seconds next to the light bulb. So let's do it this one. Or you can do it within the app. I'm just going to pair it here. You can see the light is dimming right now, which means the pairing is in the process. And once it's bright up, that's going to be paired. Now, what's going to happen is this light's going to go off. I'm just going to use up to make it quicker. So let's turn it off. Now, I already see this in the app, because in the app I can confirm that one of the bulbs, the one hidden there, is obviously assigned to a new room, which means I no longer can control both of the lights with the button. As you can see, only one light lights up. If I want to control this one, all I have to do is just wake up my motion sensor, and that is regardless of whether I'm going to pair it via this way or whether I'm going to move the controllers in the lamp. So for example, I'm going to go to and reassign the devices now. So you're going to move the lamp link to the wireless sensor to remote control. That's done, and I've regained the connectivity. So I can control both devices at the same time. And the same goes for a dimmer. Dimmer currently is not linked with a gateway, which means it's not part of it, and I thought maybe once I don't link it with a gateway then it won't break the room. However, as you can notice, I'm just gonna turn the lights on and link it. And now the light is linked to the dimmer. And what's gonna happen obviously is the following. I'm gonna lose the control over this. So I'm no longer can control it via button. You see the light is still on. You can control it with a dimmer switch. However, I've just lost access to the device in here because it's no longer active, and I no longer can control it via app. So I just disable it and it stays on. It just broke the room completely, and that's the main limitation of it. So let me talk about it in details. So why this is important and why I'm talking about this. It's all about the granular control. With MiHome application, all the commands going from the buttons or a gyro cube or other sensors you might have, they go first to the gateway. The gateway then contacts the device and does its own thing. This way you can actually link this to different groups, different rooms, different devices without breaking that flow. Unfortunately, with IKEA, that's not the case. While all the messages being spammed across the Zigbee network, they're not being relayed by the hub in the same way. The hub is there just to relay the message to a next available device, and if that device is set up or paired with a controller, it will respond to it, and that's why you cannot really pick and mix all your controllers. So this is what they don't tell you about the Trådfri devices, that when it comes to more granular home automation, you don't have this control. Now, I got some user comments telling me that there is a third-party app you can actually use to kind of bypass this and modify it, but the Trådfri app itself does not allow to do this. And while I'm talking about Trådfri, because I'm using a MiHome on a daily basis, I'd like to compare two of them for you, so you would understand what are the differences and which one's better for you before you make up your mind about the purchase. And don't worry if you already have IKEA lights, that's great because they're gonna work with MiHome hub as well. So let's compare IKEA Trådfri and Xiaomi's MiHome. First of all, I think first point is going to go to IKEA because you can actually use a single controller and pair it with up to 10 devices without need for the gateway, something you cannot do with a Xiaomi MiHome. But I think this is where the positive things end because, well, first of all, they're very similar in price. This is £25, this is around £20, and what you get is about 3 times smaller volume with MiHome. It comes with LED ring light, a button, speaker, you can use it as a doorbell, alarm, a couple of other functions, and it has like IFTTT like automations built into it. Well, it's also wireless and it has power adapter inside, so you don't need USB power device and another charger user. You can just plug it into your socket. It's designed to be used this way and then serves you kind of a mood light, so it's great to be plugged in somewhere at the entry. Now, Trådfri, well, you don't even have a Wi-Fi, and it runs on a cable, so you have to have an Ethernet cable and the power cable to run it, and it doesn't really do anything other than introducing a home assistant, which is also an option with MiHome devices. So that's about all you need to know with a hub. Maybe I should mention that if MiHome devices work great with Node-RED. The hub itself can be controlled via Node-RED, so you can control the sounds, you can control the light, etc. And also it works, the ecosystem works outside of the Wi-Fi network, unlike the IKEA Trådfri. If you're not connected to the same local network, you're not going to have this connectivity, so app is useless when you're outside of the home. Now, the second thing I want to bring your attention to are the light bulbs. What I'm holding here is my favorite E-light. I really like this thing, honestly, and the IKEA light. Both gonna work with the MiHome devices, which is great. This is Zigbee, this is Wi-Fi. I've noticed that this light, the IKEA lights, run quite hot. If the light was on for a longer amount of time, I would actually struggle to hold it. The head of the light bulb, it wouldn't be hot, but the transformer part, it gets really hot, which isn't the case with the E-light. Now, personally, I don't see much sense in driving the controller via Zigbee on the light bulbs. You're not saving that much power, and since the light is constantly connected to the mains, you might as well run it on Wi-Fi, which enables you a lot of different connectivity options. E-light, they do come with a full API access, so you can use HTTP requests, you can use it in a local mode as well, you can access it obviously from outside of the network, and they are really good lights in my opinion, and they are cheaper than IKEA lights. But if you already have IKEA Trådfri lights and you're looking into expanding your ecosystem, then perhaps consider MiHome. They work with the MiHome as well. So let's take a look at the controllers. So I've got a bunch of controllers from Xiaomi. This is a Gara Cube, which is a motion sensor. This is a button, which is just a button. Now to compare this to maybe a button from here, those two buttons have the same functions because mostly I programmed the functions for this one. So I can toggle it, I can dim the lights, and I can change the presets. IKEA uses 5 buttons for that. I've assigned that functionality to a single button. This is how versatile MiHome can be when used with Node-RED. And unfortunately, due to how IKEA operates these devices right now, it is not possible to use these devices to control anything else. While I can use the switches straight out of the box to control all the devices like computers, mobile phones, different lights, blinds, etc. With IKEA switches and all the controllers, you can only control paired devices in there, and they won't interact with Node-RED for now. I don't know how much is this limitation from the hardware standpoint, but I'd imagine a serious update would have to land in a hub, changing the way IKEA devices basically interact with each other. So that's why I think right now, in terms of controllers, these are very useful, and sorry IKEA, but that's only gonna work with lights, and I'm not going to really use it for anything else unless I'm gonna hack it, which is a shame, because if I can do so much more with a single button, imagine what a controller with 5 buttons could give me. I had a serious plans of turning this into like maybe a Plex remote or something similar, where I can control the playback of the movie. So guys, tell me, what do you think? Are you going for IKEA or are you going for Xiaomi MiHome? Personally, I'm gonna go for Xiaomi MiHome, mostly because I can do whatever I want with it, and I'm really keen on doing it. If you're happy with the functionality given by IKEA Trådfri, great. I don't have a problem with this. Just bear in mind the limitations that come with this device. As for Xiaomi MiHome, it's great to see integration with the European companies. So if the big companies like IKEA are willing to deal with Chinese manufacturers and Chinese systems, then I think that speaks a volume about the level of the trust between the companies and handling the privacy data. So if you're interested in getting one of these, obviously just look at the links in the description and you will have a link to Xiaomi devices for you. There's a supporting article in the video description too, and I have plenty of different materials about Xiaomi MiHome and what you can do without Node-RED and with Node-RED. So until then guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope the video wasn't too controversial and you are not disappointed with your purchase, like unfortunately I am, because what I'm going to do is integrate our lights with my Xiaomi hub, which renders these buttons useless. Anyway, you know how to follow me on social media and how YouTube works, so if you give me a thumbs up, that's great. If not, I might see you in the next video. Take care and bye.